go straight to the discussion for today. Let's get real with Urban on Fancy Radio. My name is Oba Boniface Omozako. We have someone that is so special. You're going to get to know why I say she's special. I'll give her the opportunity to introduce herself. Jacqueline, we have met you somewhere, but I'm not going to tell you where. But really, your story is inspiring. That's the truth.
Oh, thank you. That's
So
very
inspiring
kind.
and so inspiring. I'd like you to introduce yourself to to our listeners so they get to know you better.
Thank you. So, my name is Jacqueline, and I am a wife and mother of 2 adults. I'm also a barrister, and I've been practicing for 27 years. When I started practicing, I initially specialised in criminal law, and so I went up and down the country, attending magistrates' courts and crown courts, representing defendants, and it was really interesting because I got to meet a range of different people from so many different backgrounds and get to know their stories. Some of the defendants were persistent offenders, so as you can imagine, I would see them over and over again at court.
Wow.
So I would get to know them.
Okay. You've got a very interesting story. Okay. Actually, I think your storyline is going to inspire so many people here today, especially our ladies in the house, people, because just getting to know your storyline is, well, I'm so excited to get to come to the studio and talk to you. So what actually was your drive for reading law, for studying law?
Right, so effectively when I never actually thought there was one moment that I thought, oh, I am being inspired right now, this moment, to be a lawyer. I think I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer and be a voice and an advocate for people who couldn't say, but just didn't have the words, didn't have the voice to express their own stories. So that was always something that I wanted to do. However, my stepfather, who was a diplomat, appeared to want me to pursue the same pathway. So he encouraged me to actually study linguistics and then to master in diplomatic service. And I did study linguistics, and then my very first job was at the Barnet County Court.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so while I was at the Barnet County Court, I realised that actually I didn't want to pursue a career in the diplomatic service. I just wanted to be a lawyer, and so I applied to the University of Leeds to study law and converted to law, and so here we are. I have worked as a criminal barrister, been seconded to so many roles over the years, and now specialise in immigration and human rights.
There's so much in here to talk about. But there's something very profound about your CV, and I'd like to discuss that. As a former head of chambers of the 3 Boat Court, and what was your experience there, and did you face any challenge? What are the challenges there like?
In terms of being joint head of chambers, well, you know, with all of these roles, there's always politics involved. But it was a very busy role, and I needed to combine being head of chambers with being a barrister and had my own caseload, you know, and so it was a challenge in itself to combine those 2 roles. The sorts of things I wanted to accomplish as a head of chambers was to ensure that it was a set where the
Okay.
barristers felt very much at home.
Okay.
Felt able to approach me as their head of chambers and say, this is going on, this is what
Okay.
I would like done about it. And I was able to do that because, you know, I feel as though it's a collegiate atmosphere, it's an environment where...
But were there opposition to get that done?
There were some because, you know, as you can imagine, as I indicated earlier, there's always politics. So it was that sort of thing where, say for instance, I know we're on the radio so people can hear me, but say for instance a barrister approaches me and says, you know, I've done this case for months and months and I haven't received my fees, you know, what's going on? And I would then chase up the director of the chambers about it because he's the senior clerk.
But at the risk of pursuing your own career, that could cost you?
Yes, well, you know, those are the sorts of things. You've got to be the voice of those who don't have a voice because the other barristers, of course, could contact him directly, but they might feel that their own positions might then be in a difficult, might be difficult because they might not get a job the next time they want.
That's what I'm trying to say.
See, we're all self-employed in chambers. There's 40 of us in chambers. And so you want to be the one who is popular so that
the Robin Hood, like the Robin Hood of the law industry?
So that the senior clerk and the other clerks will favour you, you know, and give you work. So you don't want to upset the senior clerk effectively because that's who's going to allocate work to you.
That's what it seems.
And throughout my career I have been in some chambers where, you know, barristers, when they first start off, they're going to any courts they're sent to, they're doing anything they're asked to do because they don't want to upset the clerks, because the clerk is effectively the person who determines whether you walk or not. So it was that my decision was very a clear one, and I didn't particularly care if it upset the senior clerk because I wanted to ensure that the barristers were happy. In one of the chambers I'd been in previously, we didn't get money for ages, and it's not necessarily the clerk's fault. It's the fault of solicitors sometimes. And you know, solicitors will brief you, they're happy to keep sending you to court every day, but they don't always feel so happy to give you your money.
As a young person, the tendency is that you're excited doing that.
Absolutely, because you want to please the solicitors and you want to build a career for yourself. So you're just going to court left, right and centre, and you end up sometimes not actually making a profit for quite a few months.
I would like to know how you've balanced this over time. And one of the questions I want to ask is this. Your work spans criminal law, immigration and family law. How do you integrate all this together? How has it been?
Well, one of the things that I noticed early on was that they are quite interlinked areas. So criminal law, for instance, you might have a client who has committed a serious offence and will therefore be facing deportation if they're not somebody who has British nationality or indefinite leave to remain. So that's a criminal client. If you also practice in immigration, you might be called upon to represent that client in their deportation matter. So you will be able to understand how those issues link together, and you will know how you will present the case in order to enable them to remain in the country. So for instance, a person, I've had several sorts of cases where the clients have come to the UK as children, and then as adults they've moved in the wrong crowds, got influenced by the wrong types, and they've committed offences which then meant that there was the automatic deportation that would attract. And so you then have to build a case where you can show that they have a family life in the UK or a private life in the UK, and persuade the tribunal that actually that because they have a private or family life in the UK, they should remain in the UK, irrespective of the fact that they've committed the criminal offence. So it's something that when I talk to friends at dinner parties, does create quite a lively conversation, because you'd have people in one camp saying, well, they've committed a criminal offence and they shouldn't stay in this country, and then you'd have others really rooting for such a person, because quite frankly, if you've come to the UK as a child, say at the age of 1 or 2 or 3, and you're now 25 or a young adult and you're committing these offences, the argument I put forward is that you're not a criminal, a foreign criminal. You are a homebred criminal, because you've come here and you've actually become that way because of the time you spend here. And so what should happen is that you should, serve your time in prison and then be allowed to carry on living here.
Well, that's lovely. Or is it working against you or is it working for you?
So that's very helpful. Thank you for that question. That's very helpful, because what you would often find in wearing the two hats is that if you're presenting for the Secretary of State, you know what the issues are, and therefore when you come to represent the appellant, you already anticipate how the Home Office is going to put their case, and that brings value.
So you have inside information?
Well, it's just a matter of the way that it's going to, the approach of the Home Office is going to be this way, that way, and so you know already in anticipation how to prepare your case. So it's often interesting to do those two, because I'm able to very easily wear the two hats.
Oh, it's lovely, really. It's unique. I think there are very few solicitors, barristers that do what you do from both, like different extreme, bringing it to the middle ground where you can truly provide good services and I should say quality services to people that truly need it. And you are known for giving access to the bar, helping people to have access to the bar. How do you do this?
So in terms of that, there's various ways that I've made it possible for young people who wish to become barristers, and they come from ethnic minorities.
Okay, that's lovely. Yeah.
So for instance, as a previous joint head of chambers, what I did was to ensure that we had in our chambers a sort of a policy where we would attract the brightest and the best, and we would ensure that people of various backgrounds were given the opportunity to apply for pupillage and tenancy. And if you look at our website, you'll see in terms of the numbers and the people there, it's very diverse, and we attract people from Afro-Caribbean backgrounds, from Asian backgrounds, from all backgrounds. And my feeling is that if a defendant in the criminal court, or in fact an appellant in the immigration court, is putting their case, but the person who's advocating for them doesn't look like them, or doesn't share their story, or understand
the experiences,
their experiences, their lived experiences, they're not going to have as much trust and faith that they're going to present their case as well.
Absolutely true.
Now in our chambers we have so many people of Asian backgrounds and so on, and they will go to court and speak the language with the clients. So you can imagine that level of trust that the client will have, that you understand my language, you're going to really know what I'm talking about when I tell you what happened. And so there's that confidence already. And so what we do is we select candidates from all backgrounds, and we try to ensure that we're very inclusive and very diverse. And when I take young people to court to observe me, I ensure that they really understand the different pathways in order to progress their careers. I had a young lady recently who had come with me to the family court.
Okay.
And she said to me, Auntie, I really don't know whether I want to be
Is
a
she the
barrister.
legal? Okay, she's not yet
She's actually studied law.
Okay,
She's got
okay.
her law degree, but she doesn't know
Okay.
whether she wants to pursue a career as a solicitor, a barrister,
Okay.
or in fact a social worker. Because she said, I love being in the environment where children need some help and I can help them.
Okay.
So she seems to want to help children. So I picked up on that. But she said, but Auntie, I've just watched you at the family court and I don't want to have that level of responsibility on my shoulders in my profession.
But that was being sincere.
She said, because I don't want to get it wrong and then everything falls apart because I've not done a good job as a barrister. And I said to her, listen, you've just done your law degree, you'll still have to be trained when you go to the bar course, and you'll have lots of mini pupilages, and you'll do a pupillage in chambers. You'll have a lot of time to get the sort of experience you need. And so over time, it's a learning experience. Over time, you'll begin to know how best to tackle certain situations, and you'll be good.
Okay, I sense there are people that might be listening now. Probably these are members of the aspirant community. They've studied law from other countries. And do you have a kind of mentorship program that help them integrate into the British system?
So people who have studied law abroad, and they will need to, of course, do the conversion course first in order to qualify to be a barrister here in the UK. And then what I often encourage people to do is to apply for mini pupillage. And that's a week or 2 weeks in chambers observing various barristers. And it's not just one barrister, actually. I think it's best to observe different barristers in a criminal court, in a family court, in a housing matter, in an employment tribunal. And so you get a range of different sorts of work that barristers do. And then you can sit back and say, actually, I want to do this.
This is what I want to
And
pursue.
in terms of mentoring, I am a mentor. So I'm a mentor at Middle Temple, which is the inn that I belong to as a barrister. And so through that, I'm allocated students who are coming up. And so I mentor them. And so I will regularly have conversations with them to find out where they are in their journey, and I'll signpost them to where they need to be. So I try to guide them.
Okay, that's lovely. And listening to you, I can tell so many people will want to engage your service. Are you still open? Because I know you're extremely busy for what I heard.
Yes, of course I am.
You're still very open to receiving more clients?
Yes, I am, very much so. Every barrister wants to have clients, so I'll never say no. And so, of course, my chambers is Threebolt Court Chambers. And if you go online, you'll be able to find the website and you can find our contact details. I'm also on LinkedIn, Jacqueline Victor-Mazeli, so you can always contact my clerks if you want my services. I specialise in immigration and human rights and also family court matters.
Guys, if you are listening, you better take advantage of this. You're not going to get it better than this. That's the truth. You're talking to someone that is not just knowledgeable in her field, but she's got the heart of gold. She wants to be the voice for the voiceless. And you're going to get to know why we celebrate her. She's not just talking, she's doing the talk. So once again, I want to thank you for coming on this show. I'm really grateful.
Much for having me.
Thank you. So I want to ask a very important question, and this is, how does your work as a mediator and conflict coach align with your legal practice, particularly by fostering resolution and understanding? How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks for asking it. So I actually think that having practiced as a barrister for so many years, and it's such a cutthroat environment when you're in court because you're an adversary to your opponent. You're trying to prove that their points are wrong, and you want to ensure that your own client is right. So it's a very adversarial scenario. But what I want to do more is mediation. If I can get opponents to come together and talk about what it is that's keeping them very firmly rooted in opposing sides. And, you know, it's been so fulfilling being a mediator. I qualified in 2018, I think it was. Sometimes I forget. I think 2018 or 2019. And, you know, I am on the panel with the Society of Mediators, and they will allocate cases to me. And so I will have a chat with the client and find out if the other side is open to mediation, because actually both sides will need to be open to mediation. And what you find is that initially they will sit in the same space, and for the first hour or two they're shouting and arguing, and they
especially when it comes to criminal cases. Civil case probably could be.
Absolutely, and it could be any number of things. So the sorts of cases that are sent over to me, contracts, breaches of contracts, commercial disputes, neighbour disputes, and as complex matters as you know, wills and probates. So family members fall into these situations where a loved one has passed away, and then they fall out about what the will should say and what the will says and what it should say, and so you have those sorts of conflicts. So you sit in the same space with the opponent, and you just allow them to let their, you know, upset come through. They can talk about it. They might want really just an apology from the other side. Sometimes it's as simple as that.
Are you serious?
You took Mum's gold ring, apologise. You shouldn't have taken it. I want to have Dad's, you know, special photograph.
That's personal.
Just as simple as something like as simple as, you know, I want to have that thing that Dad said over so many dinner parties. That
So is there special training you went through to be able to achieve this?
Yes, I was trained as a mediator. I believe it was in 2019 with the Society of Mediators. And so it's quite an intense training program. And during the training program, you are encouraged to perform real life scenarios where, you know, even you as a trainer will have an opponent who's another trainer. And you can all have reenact scenarios. And so it was quite powerful. But one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about is that in addition to being paid as a mediator, I volunteer on this scheme where we stand sort of at the reception area, make ourselves available to litigants in person.
That's lovely.
If they wish to engage us on the day of their
I think we need to let the public know about this. Most people are not aware of this.
They wouldn't be aware of it because it's not as well advertised as one would like. But on the day, you can actually have people being interested in a mediation. So you can then take them into one of the allocated rooms and sit with them and resolve the matter. And then you have a signed, you know, notice, which is then handed over to the judge, and the judge is happy because actually the judge then doesn't have to decide on that case. So this is a pilot that was started a few years ago, and then because of the success of this scheme, the Royal Courts of Justice have allowed the Society of Mediators to do this every year, and so we're given a few rooms there to go and take our litigants in person and try and see whether we can facilitate mediation.
Wow.
And so that's something that I feel very happy about.
I think this should be announced. This should be advertised more.
I agree.
Yeah, I think this should be. The public needs to know this.
I agree with
Because
you.
I'm just hearing this for the very first time too, and I believe so many of our audience they're just hearing this for the very first time. Thanks for making this known. So it's a good start. We appreciate that.
And it's
so,
free of charge. You don't have to pay. It's we volunteer our services. So you come to court, and instead of going to court and maybe spending 2 or 3 hours fighting the case, you can go into the rooms and have a mediation.
Everyone is happy. The judge is happy. Everybody's happy.
Absolutely.
This is good. This is good. This is good. Thank you for what you do. Really, this is lovely. And so I just want to ask, okay, as a middle-tempo mentor and advocacy trainer, what advice would you give to an aspiring barrister, especially those from marginalized background, and what advice would you give to them?
So in terms of the mentoring, again, I encourage young aspiring barristers. It's a very difficult thing to make a decision whether you want to be a barrister or a solicitor or something else in that.
Okay.
And so I always suggest that you do as many work experiences as possible. And so that would entail spending some time in barristers' chambers, spending some time in solicitors' offices, spending time in other organisations until you know what it is you feel you're called to do. Because actually at age 18, I don't think that many people know what they want to do.
That's true.
And that's the point at which they're required to make decisions about their A-levels and subjects and things like that. And then you go to university, you're already following that path, but you haven't had any real experience. So I always encourage the young adults to have as much work experience as possible. I'll share one of my own stories from my own son, who wasn't clear whether he wanted to work in tech or in an environment where he would help people rehabilitate after injuries, because he's very good in terms of fitness and wellness, and he can help people to plan their nutrition.
And the part you got from you, the passion to help people.
Yeah, so he certainly likes to do things like that. But he wasn't clear which of those two pathways to follow. So my husband and I arranged for him to do lots and lots of work experience. My husband is into tech, so he took him into his offices and he spent many, many weeks there, doing so many different things, shadowing so many different people, and so he saw that that was a strength. And then I arranged with a friend of mine who was, I forget now, director at North Middlesex Hospital, Dr. Cullo, and he very kindly made it possible for my son to go and have some work experience there. So he was able then to say to me, "Mum, I can see myself as a physiotherapist
Are you serious?
or as a doctor. I can see myself doing that.
So how do you resolve that?
Mum, I'm going to focus on tech."
Okay.
And I said, "Fine, but the point is you've had experience doing these different roles and see what people do in those jobs. So now you can make an informed decision." And so he's now working in tech with a German investment bank, and he's doing really well and he's very happy. So I'm happy that I encouraged him to make an informed decision before embarking, because many years ago parents just told you you're going to be a barrister, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a teacher, but you weren't really encouraged to find out for yourself what you felt called to do.
This is lovely. That will take me to my next question, based on your life experiences, because your son is blessed, and there's so many sons and daughters out there that would love to have that experience. And people sometimes get to the 30s and realize that they have been on a wrong journey.
And it's never too late to turn around.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
never too late, is it?
So thanks for that. That's lovely. So based on from your experiences in life, blending career, family, and faith, and also what's something important as head of chambers, what can you tell to upcoming barristers, solicitors, or just a youth about the pitfalls, the challenges, and things to look for, things to be careful about to build a successful career?
Right, and certainly my own experience, I have been in different chambers over the years, and I have seen different chambers being run differently. So you do need to be respectful to everybody, your colleagues, the clerks, and your clients.
Yeah.
And when you go to court, be respectful, the judges, everybody.
Okay.
Because that stands you in good stead. It's such a small community, everybody knows everybody.
Wow.
So if you do a sloppy job today, somebody
You
will
get a bad referral in a negative
will
way, okay?
be talking about it, and in fact, from the judge all the way down to your clerk, it will be fed down. So work really hard. Make sure you know your case really well.
Okay.
Sometimes you get your brief the night before.
Okay.
The night before the case. So if you have to stay up, and know your case from, front to cover, from front to back, thoroughly, and so that you know all the information and you can just talk about your case really thoroughly when you go to court. That would be my biggest advice. So know your case. Know your case very well. And then be very professional. Don't ever lie to the court just because you're trying to win your case. If you realise you've said something wrong, apologise and just ensure that you're very ethical and that your standards are very high standard. So those would be the sorts of advice I would give, and you will find that you are looked up to and you're respected, and people will speak well of you if you maintain those sorts of values.
I hope everyone is listening, because in summary I can say that you've talked about attitude, get the right attitude, develop capacity, and that will help. It will take you far. Attitude and capacity. That would be awesome. Now we need to talk about immigration. You seem to have a lot of experience there.
Right.
And challenges you face dealing with the issues of family ties, immigration and things. Can you share with us one of your experience?
So I'm trying to think of one that might jump out at me right now, but there's so many. I saw a client recently, 2 days ago, whose hearing will be at the Birmingham Immigration Tribunal on the 20th of December. And he had arrived in this country in 2012 as a Tier 1 investor, from China. He came with his wife and 2 children. And, at the moment his wife has left him and they're divorced.
Yeah, in the UK.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're divorced and they have the 2 children, one is an adult and one is a child. While the wife and the 2 children have indefinite leave to remain, my client doesn't. And the reason for this is that when he was required to do the English language, to demonstrate that he could speak English, he wasn't able to do so. And that was a requirement which he failed. And so he's now having to try the route of showing that he is in a parental relationship with a child who has indefinite leave to remain in this country. And I felt really, really, my heart, felt for him, because he just sat there with an interpreter. He's been in the country since 2012 and can't speak a word of English. So I said to him, you know what, you really must listen to the radio, watch television, and just try to
Yeah.
integrate with other people who
Social
are
cultural
English.
integration is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't keep yourself in your Chinese community
Yeah.
because that doesn't help you. You
Yeah.
need to integrate, and that way you're learning the ways of the
The British way, you've got to learn that.
people, and you're able then to improve yourself. And he goes, well, I'm going to be 68 very soon. He said this through his interpreter. I need to be 68 very soon. I don't think I need to pass the Life in the UK test. I don't need to have English. And I said, for your own benefit, when you go to spaces where things are being talked
Yeah.
about, you will need to understand the language. If you don't understand the language, you can't progress
That's true.
your own needs.
That's-
They've not been able to try and improve
I'm
themselves.
going to ask you
in
a
all that
favor for
time.
so many people now. Can you let the public know they can reach out to you? Because so many people are going through these issues, and I think so many people would love to contact you. That's the truth. And or want to sincerely beg of you to do this. And so we get these cases, we hear these cases from people, and like you just said, carelessness. This is self-inflicted problem, and so I don't know if you can repeat how people can contact you again. And so
Yes, so of
Okay.
course I am a member of 3 Bowl Court Chambers, and they can go on the website and see details there. You can contact my clerk, and I'm very happy to speak to anybody in order to support them in their journey, either in immigration or family or crime, and also in terms of mentoring young people who want to be able to join the profession. That's an area that I'm very passionate about.